Welcome to episode 7 of this Leadership in Conservation series. Today, we will explore why we have hierarchies and the role of rank, hierarchy, and leadership in organizations. In this episode, we will investigate the difference between rank and leadership, why hierarchies exist, and how leadership can thrive at every level, regardless of formal authority. Leading us through this topic is Marais. Chris is a respected leadership expert with vast experience in organizational structure, decision-making, and leadership development. He has worked with teams and leaders to help them navigate hierarchies, develop leadership skills, and foster influence both formally and informally. After watching this video, you will understand why rank and hierarchy exist in organizations and their purpose. You will learn the difference between formal rank-based leadership and informal influence-based leadership. And finally, you will discover how leadership is more than just a title. Now, let's listen to Chris.
Thank you for the introduction, Suletu. The topic of this module is rank and hierarchy on the one side versus leadership on the other side. I recently had a debate with some of the young conservation leaders in our organization what the difference is between rank and hierarchy versus leadership. Now, they explained that they've noticed that in a lot of the conservation organizations, some of the staff wear military uniform. And there's a very clear rank and hierarchy where there's somebody who takes the command and then somebody on the other side who has to execute the command. Now, the reason for that is mainly because of law enforcement, because conservation organizations play a big role in terms of law enforcement, applying the law. Think about anti-poaching, where people might have to be arrested. Now, for that, you need to be an official, and you have to have a certain rank, and then you can do whatever the law requires of you to do. So the question is, does this imply that higher rank makes better leaders? Or is rank only in a title?
So, my question is, does leadership and rank go hand in hand? Do they go together? And I'm asking this because of a story that I would like to share of an exceptional individual named Ezekiel Dembe, who worked in a certain conservation organization. So his situation is that when the staff had labor problems and went to HR to try and deal with these, Ezekiel was the one that was asked by his peers to be the leader in this. So he was taking the comments, he was taking the questions, he was putting everything together, hearing everybody out in order to bring this to senior management. And he entered the boardroom after all those discussions and laid out all that information. And to my surprise, after leaving the boardroom, puts on his overalls, gets in the back of a truck with all the other staff members, and drives away with everybody else. And the reason that was surprising is that I had the impression that he would be of a specific rank in the organization, but he seemed to just be a road construction worker. That's all he was. I thought he would have maybe a supervising position, but he seemed to just be one of the low ranking workers of the organization. But he was still being seen as a leader. He was being sent as somebody, as if he's somebody who has rank, who's able to have influence in a sense, or authority. And so my question is, in that regard, looking at Ezekiel's story, he did not have any rank, but he was trusted by the people around him, and he acted as a leader without any rank. So my question is leadership and rank Are they synonymous to one another? Do they work together? You cannot have one without the other, is what I'm asking.
Well, I can tell you this. I can see that you're a very bright student because it's not that simple to respond to it. And I'm so happy that both Nick and Londiwe is here also to help us think through this, because they come from a very conservation-like situation and they understand rank very well. And if I'm not mistaken, Nick, in South African national parks, the grading system that you use is the well-known Patterson system. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay. So when you look at this grid that you now can see on the screen, let's just discuss how people are ranked in organizations. Now, there are various systems, but we use this Patterson system. So in the Patterson system, the lowest ranking people in the organization are the hands-on operational people who do the labor work. Like Ezekiel Dembe would be a laborer, a work constructor, and he had to do labor work. And what they do is very much controlled by rules and regulations, processes and procedures and standards and norms. They do not have much leniency to do things different way. So their decisional making ability is low. So rank tend to climb the higher your decision making level is. But it also tend to climb with how many people you actually control. So that indicates rank. So the next level in the Patterson system will be the B level. Niklas, it's normally the supervisors, am I right? That sort of, again, they guide the workers to work in a coordinated way. They again get their instructions from middle management, who start interpreting the way forward, but they must ensure that the work on the ground level is done correctly. But that's where the supervisors get their instructions from, who again talk to the senior managers, and they are the ones who start interpreting the vision, where the organization is heading, how do we have to achieve it, and make sure that the operational things get aligned with the vision and where we are heading, with the directorate who are at the highest level, together with the CEO who takes the full responsibility. So the CEO, for instance, is not guided by processes, procedures, and manuals and things. The CEO, together with the directorate, must determine the direction of the organization, and they rather look at non-tangible things like what are the trends and what are the right things to do, and what is the monetary implications here, and how international markets are changing. So there's not clarity, and they have to guide. So the higher the decisional making, the higher the rank, and the higher the rank, the more people you control. Now, with rank comes responsibility, and with responsibility comes accountability. At every level, I should assume that these people are leaders in their field or at their level. But it's not always the case. Because the fact that you have that position gives you authority and you can tell others what to do, but it doesn't really always make you a leader. And that complicates it, whether is it rank or is it leadership. Rank give you authority. Rank give you power of command, but power of command does not necessarily make you a real leader. Rank and hierarchy typically refers to a formal structure of authority within an organization. It is a system of classification that's represented in titles, roles, uniforms, or even physical spaces such as the size of office.
It clearly distinguishes between who is junior and who is senior. In essence, who is in command. Therefore, rank is important. As example, I know a senior officer in the conservation organization who holds the rank of colonel, but he is also a PhD, implying that he is Dr. so-and-so. Asking him whether he prefers to be called colonel versus doctor, he clearly indicated that his rank takes preference, as it is more important in the organization than his academic title. This is not just true when it comes to military structures. Rank still plays a big role in normal organizations and companies, like who is the supervisor, the manager, or the general manager. We talk about the director, the chief financial officer, the chief operating officer. Then at the top you have the chief executive officer. I can therefore understand the uncertainty and confusion of my younger colleagues, whether rank and leadership goes hand in hand. Does it imply that every next person with a higher rank is a better leader? In answer to this question, I share with you a basic grid I have designed to demonstrate one of the main principles on which rank and hierarchy is based in organizations. This grid demonstrates one of the main aspects which distinguishes junior staff from higher-ranking senior managers. When you look at this grid, you will see that on the horizontal x-axis, I distinguish between the level of decision-making at the operational level. Their decisions are based on rules and regulations, processes and procedures. It also implies that the impact of their decisions are normally lower than those who are on high-ranking positions. Look at the left y-axis and we look at high-ranking people. Their decisions are normally based on trends and markets and political circumstances, and the impact is big. It implies that somebody at a high level can have a much bigger influence on the performance within an organization. It could actually, to a certain extent, it can cause the downfall of an organization. So if you look at this, then it makes sense that hierarchy and rank also distinguish between the level of decision-making of people, the impact they have, and other things such as budgets, strategic thinking, and international cooperation. So clearly you have rank in organizations. Now I'll just make it a little bit more practical, and you look at the same graph where you have level of decision-making is operational versus level of decision-making long-term. And the impact long-term, much higher than the impact we're talking operational. It makes sense that the operational staff are normally lower ranking staff, and they get instructions from people who control their actions. Supervisors coordinate the operational functions of the lower level staff. The middle management, in turn, they coordinate and align the regulatory processes of supervisors, whereas general management, and this is at a high management level, they coordinate departments and they coordinate the middle management's tasks and goals and objectives. At directors level, they interpret the vision of the organization and they steer the mission in terms of how are we going to achieve this vision, whereas the CEO and the board determine the direction where the company is heading, which is the vision. Does that mean you need to have a rank to be a leader? Or can you be a leader despite your rank? The answer is that rank and leadership are not always connected. We should distinguish between formal and informal leadership. Formal leadership goes with rank. Rank often corresponds with formal leadership positions, such as CEOs or general managers. These roles come with designated authority, which can make it easier to execute leadership in a structured way. People expect of those in a formal senior position to be the leader. However, very often, some of these former leaders disappoint. Despite the authority they hold, they are not necessarily true leaders. They instruct, command, and control others, often being the boss, but do not always lead the staff to willingly follow the directions a company is heading towards. On the other hand, let's look at informal leadership. Leadership is more about influence, guidance, and the ability to inspire or direct people. Leadership isn't strictly tied to formal positions. A person can be a leader without having a high rank. Leadership is about how effectively someone can motivate, support, and guide others, regardless of where they sit in a formal hierarchy. Informally, they still lead others despite their rank. So, as a young up-and-coming conservationist, take note that individuals in any position or of any rank can exhibit leadership qualities and influence others. True leaders gain respect through attitude, ability to inspire others, regardless of their official title. True leadership involves skills such as vision, big picture thinking, two-way communication, empathy, attitude, and ability to lead others to work cohesively towards organizational goals. Rank can provide the platform and authority to lead formally. However, effective leadership transcends rank. Leadership applies at every position and is not reserved for only the upper ranks. I trust that you have a better understanding of the difference between rank and hierarchy on the one side and leadership on the other side. Most importantly, do remember that leadership does not necessarily depend on rank, and as you enter the world of work, also remember you cannot keep a good leader down.
So rank and hierarchy serve an important role in establishing order, decision-making structures, and accountability within organizations. True leadership is not just about position, it's about influence, guidance, and the ability to inspire and direct others. To summarize, hierarchy and rank create organizational structure, but they don't guarantee good leadership. Formal leadership comes with rank and authority, but informal leadership is about inspiring and guiding others regardless of position. Great leaders gain respect through their ability to communicate, influence, and motivate others, not just through their title or rank. Next up is episode 8, titled Leadership in the Digital Era. Join us as we explore how digital advancements are transforming leadership and the skills required to thrive in this evolving space.